What's going on, guys? My name's Hayden Crabtree. I'm making this video specifically for those people who are reading Skip the Flip. You've gotten to this section on property returns and you want to learn a little bit more about what is IRR. I recommend that you use IRR when measuring any investment as the basis for how good is that investment. So with that being said, it's extremely important that you understand not only one, what it is, but two, how to calculate it. So we're just going to go through for about 5 to 10 minutes here, talk about IRR and explain a couple of examples and walk through a couple of examples together to see how it works. Okay? So if you've read in the book, if you don't have the book, you can pick it up, haydencrabtree.com/free book. And you can go pick it up. It's about midway through the book, maybe towards the back of the book we talk about this. But if you don't have the book, pick it up for free. If you do have the book, IRR is what I suggest you measure your property returns with. So IRR is it's just this beautiful number because it takes cash flow, it takes debt pay down, it takes property appreciation, and it factors all of it in. One, it looks at the timing of it and it looks at the volumes of it and when different flows come at different times. So IRR is a great number because the basis and how you can explain IRR in one sentence is it is the average annualized compounding return of your money. Okay, so as we learned about, money compounds. It doesn't just grow at a flat rate. If you invest $100 at 10%, it shouldn't go 10% each and every year. Each and every year that number should get bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's called compound interest. Okay, so we're going to walk through this, and IRR is going to tell you what is the compound return on your money every year. Okay, so that's why I love it. So I'm in a free Google Sheet here. Anyone has access to Google Sheet, and I'm going to show you how you can calculate IRR in Google Sheet. So one of the most important thing to understand is that we actually have to have a year zero, and that's our investment year. And when we're calculating a return, our investment needs to be a negative number. Okay, so we're going to use a very simple example. We're going to use negative $1,000. So if I invest negative $1,000 at year zero, that means I invested $1,000 into something. Okay, so we're going to come through. We're going to make these dollars. Okay, so year zero, that's the time at which I invested it. Now we're going to look at year one. Okay, so let's say I invested $1,000 into, let's just say, a widget company to make it simple. It could be a piece of real estate, it could be stocks, it could be whatever your investment is. Ice cream business, lemonade stand, doesn't matter. But let's say at the end of year one, so on January 1st, I invest $1,000, and then on December 31st of that year, that's one full year period, I receive, let's call it $100. So that's my year one return. Okay, now here's what we're going to do. To calculate IRR, we're going to hit equals IRR, open parenthesis, and we're going to grab it. And we're going to go through our whole cash flows. So it's going to recognize that we invested $1,000 and then we received $100 back. So close parenthesis, equals. So right now, as you can see, this is negative 90% IRR. Why is that? That's because whenever I closed this parenthesis, I told the calculator that this investment is done. Okay, so it says, wow, you invested $1,000 and you only received $100 back in year one. You had a negative 90% return, so that's not great. But let's keep going because our investment didn't end at year one. So let's type in year two. And let's say in year two, say we receive another $100. So what I have to do is I have to tell the calculator now that this investment has another year to it. So I'll click all three of these, close parenthesis, enter. Now it says, okay, you invested $1,000. At the end of year one, you got a $100 return. At the end of year two, you got another $100 return. Now you've only lost 63%. Now let's take an example here, and let's say that at the end of year two, not only did I receive the $100 return, but I sold the investment and I got my full $1,000 back. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to have a $100 cash flow. So I'm going to hit equals. I have a $100 cash flow return, and then I sold the business for $1,000. So I'm going to add those two sums up into one cell here, and it's actually going to read like at the end of year two, I received $1,100. So now, if you check this out, what I'm telling the computer I did is I invested $1,000, I received $100 at the end of year one, and I received $1,100 at the end of year two. Okay, and now my IRR is 10%. So I had a 10% average return on this investment. Let's bump it out. 10% average return. Now, let's see what happens if I actually didn't receive any money at the end of year 2, and at the end of year 3, I received the $1,100. Let's see what happens to our IRR. Now I have to tell it that there's an additional year, so I'm just going to bump this over. So now, see, if I had received this sum of money in year 2, although it's the same amount of money, I added a whole additional year here, and I dropped my return from 10% to 6.67. Okay, so that's the power of the IRR, is it recognizes not only how much did I receive, but in what year did I receive it. So if I want to see how much I would have had to receive in year 2 to keep that 10% return up, I can just come and enter a number here. Let's say we received $50. Well, that bumps my return up to 8.34. Let's say I received $90, 9.67. Let's say I received $100, 10%. Okay. Now let's say I didn't receive, I only received my 1,000 back. Let's say I didn't receive any interest. Let's see how much our return is. So now if you see that, our IRR dropped again. So what's so beautiful about this is not only is it factoring in how much money did you receive, but it factors in when did you receive it as well. And if you want to do custom date periods, you can as well. So let's say I want to do January 1, 2019, February 1, 2019. Because if you look here, we're just looking at years, and in reality, you don't receive money every year, every 365 days. So if you want to come and get more accurate, what you can do, let's see here. Let's say December 1, 2018, and we want to figure out our IRR. You can come here. Let's say we invested negative 1,000 here. I'm going to make all these monetary, and let's say we received $12 here, and then let's say we received $1,000 here. Okay, so these are months. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the custom time frame formula. So it's going to be X IRR open parentheses, and first it wants to know the cash flow amounts. So we're going to do the cash flow amounts, comma, and then it wants to know the date range. So what we're going to do is we're going to come through and correspond the date range, and we're going to close parentheses, and it's going to let us know our IRR, 7.32% annualized return. Now if I'd made, call it, if I'd invested in December, got paid $12 in January, and $1,000 in February, but let's say I get paid, yeah, sure. Let's say, oops, what did I do there? Let's say I got paid $2,000. You can see my average annual return, even though I invested 1,000 and got 2,000 back. A lot of people think that's 200% return, as in I doubled my money, but in reality, this is looking on an annualized basis. So if it was to say I got this same return over the course of an entire year, I would be averaging a 6,000% return. So that's the power of knowing what kind of return you're getting, when you should sell, when you should not. Because if we're analyzing a property with IRR and we're looking at, hey, what is my IRR in year 3 versus year 4, the power in that is I can actually tell, should I hold on to this property in year 3 and try and cash flow it for another year before I sell it and 1031 that money out into another property? Or should I wait until year 5 with the debt pay down, with the increase of value and appreciation? Would I be better off on an annualized return to sell it in year 4, year 5, year 10? When should I sell it? And that's the power of the IRR, is knowing what's best for your money on an average annual compounded. Because if you can time it right over the course of 3 or 4 life cycles of different deals, then it's going to make a huge difference in your wealth in the long term. So, you know, compounded return, the difference between a 15 and a 20% return is going to make a whole heck of a difference throughout your lifetime. So I hope this helped. I hope it was powerful for you to see how this works. If you have any questions, reach out to me. And use this again. So if you want to do just plain out years, you can use the normal IRR equals IRR and then your date range. And then if you want to use a custom time frame, use the XIRR formula. And all this is free in Google Sheets. You just need to make it Gmail. So hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you haven't gotten my book, Skip the Flip, go get it, haydencrabtree.com/skip the flip. And if you want to join my Facebook community, we talk about real estate investing all the time, every single day. Go to haydencrabtree.com/community. Join the Facebook group. It's free. I'd love to have you in there. You can post questions there. If you have any questions about this, join the Facebook group, post a question, I'll answer it. So go be great, do some great things, and keep up your financial education. Until next time.